Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J. Spring Divine. I'm here to give you a little short news and a word on tonight. First, we're going to start with, I just heard the news about an hour ago. Utah man got killed by the FBI. You know, the agent after he made threats against President Bennett. You know, so FBI special agent had shot and killed a Utah man today while attempting to arrest him for making threats against President Joe Biden ahead of President's visit. Now, FBI SWAT team agent was given a command, you know, to the man when he pointed a gun at them. You know, according to a law enforcement source familiar with the incident. Now, some other threat happened just ahead of President Bennett planning a trip to Utah today, this evening. You know, so we thank God for President Bennett that he's okay. You know, because he made threats, and sometimes you know, you got to take them threats serious. And thank God that the FBI was on the duty, on the job, you know, and did what they were supposed to do. You know, so I want to talk about this word. Now, this is Peter's mother-in-law. She was down, but she was not out. You know, now Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law, you know, and many others. You know, so it's going to come from Matthew chapter 8, 14, verse 17. You know, so when Jesus had came into Peter's house, you know, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying, you know, in the bed with a fever. You know, because you know someone's sick, you know, Jesus, that's the first thing he going to see. You know, he going to notice. Now, Jesus entered Peter's house, and the first thing he noticed, you know, Peter's mother-in-law just lying in the bed. You know, and you know she normally don't be lying in the bed when he comes, so he knows something was strange. You know, so he touched her, you know, and the fever had left. Now, see, he didn't even have to make no words. He didn't have to make no sounds or anything. All he had to do was just touch. And her fever had went away. And she got up. And when she got up, you know, she began to wait on him. You know, now at first, she didn't care too much for Jesus. All the good stuff that she heard about him, she did. You know why? Because that's the mother-in-law. And when Jesus had picked his 12 disciples, Peter was one of them. You know, and remember, I put that out yesterday. They had to leave their wives, their children. They had to use everything behind. And she was holding something against them because her husband had to leave with Jesus, and that's why she felt the type of way. Left her by herself, and luckily she was with him, you know, but to follow Jesus, they had to leave everything behind. You know, so now Jesus had touched her, and her fever left, and the best thing she wanted to do was to wait on him, you know. So now she looking at him at a whole different way now. You know, he healed her. The fever was gone. You know, so now she want to give him honor. You know, remember, she didn't catch too much fun, so now she want to give him honor. You know, she see all, because she said, I heard all the things they said about him. You know, but he had Peter to leave and left her daughter alone, and that's all she was thinking about. You know, so Peter's mother-in-law was instant healed, and instead of kneeling time to recover from her fever, you know, as would be natural, she immediately got up, and she wanted to wait on Jesus. She wanted to wait on Jesus and give him honor. You know, so start to fulfill her role as the hostess in the household. Serving Jesus and others, her ability to do so is evidence that the healing was supernatural. You know, so instead of kneeling in time to recover for her fever, as would be natural, she immediately got up. You know, and she started fulfilling her role as a hostess. You know, so her daughter was in the kitchen. So she went in the kitchen with her daughter. She said, I'm about to do what I do best. You know, go in the kitchen and cook so I could be a hostess so I could serve, Jesus, her guests. So Jesus and others, now her ability was to do so, is evidence that the healing was supernatural. Now, she said she think the healing was supernatural. So now with this story, Jesus didn't have to say anything, just with a touch, her fever had left. Remember with the stone, he had to speak, but this case here, he don't have to speak. All he had to do was touch her and the fever was gone. So she was down, but she was not out. Peter's mother-in-law didn't think so highly, of Jesus. Everyone was talking about Jesus, how all the miracles he was doing, but she didn't want to listen, so Peter Simon had taken, to follow this Jesus. And that's where all her feeling come from when Peter had to follow Jesus and leave her daughter behind. So days after time throughout the countryside, leaving her daughter, to have to marry everything at home. She had to manage everything at home. So now she first, she feverish, as a brain as she lay on her mat. So she heard voices, at the door, and Jesus and Peter and others. So Peter let Jesus know that his mother-in-law, is sick. So then Jesus had walk over there to her, to her mat, and that's when he had touched her hand. And all he did was touch her hand, but it was more than just a touch. She started feeling something for Jesus, Jesus touched her hand, and then she was like, oh, wait a minute. It feel like love. She said it feel like love and definite sweetness. So she started feeling a certain way. Remember, she was mad with him at first. Now Jesus had to touch her. She feeling love, she feeling enforced, her entire body, her fever had broke immediately and her energy had returned. Now remember earlier on, she didn't care for Jesus. But now, he healed her, and he is clearly there was something extraordinary about this Jesus. Now she see what everybody was talking about. That's why a lot of time you can't listen to what somebody tell you. You always got to meet the person for yourself. You got to meet the person for yourself. Not something, something of God was in him. So she realized, it was a supernatural healing. Then she said she think that God was right there by him, and she said perhaps Peter's involvement, with him wasn't such a bad thing after all. Because she thought bad of Jesus. So now she see that he's a good person. She said she could see that he's a good person. She said involvement with Jesus wasn't such a bad thing after all, because she had to meet him for herself. And sometimes people can hear so much stuff from someone, and all you got to do is meet the person yourself, and then everything will change. So she got up, off her mat, and she thinking how could she repay him. And then she said, no, she said, no, how could she honor this man? That she realized his value. She realized that he's special, because she was saying, how can I pay him? She said, no, how can I honor him? So she told what she knew best. What she knew best. That's why a lot of time, you're supposed to pick your career what you know best. She went to her daughter and helped cook their guests' food. Now she served them with great joy. And after the meal, the neighbors and the town people, came to the door to see the master. So when they saw how he healed her, they had everyone in the neighborhood wanted to come and see this Jesus. You know, and they said they needed healing. Now she said God was with Jesus. You know, and she will never forget this day. Now, Jesus had healed her. You know, and she says today she will never forget this day. You know, so Peter's mother-in-law, she was down, but she was not out. You know, a touch from Jesus had healed her body. You know, healed her body. Now, there was a story of Peter's mother-in-law. You know, she was a little disturbed, you know, because Jesus had took Peter. Now they had to volunteer, you know. Jesus had said, you have to get rid of everything to come follow me. In his case, it was his wife, you know. So, and we did talk about, thank God Mr. President Bennett is safe and he is okay. They hurry up and jump on the matter, you know, the FBI. The agent had shot and killed. You told a man he was doing a lot of threat. You know, so we don't know why he was threatened. We don't know why he was talking about using a specific gun. You know, but they still investigate. You know, so that's all the news I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed and safe day, night, and I see y'all on the next video.